I want to take a moment to review exponents. I trust that by now we all know that exponents mean repeated multiplication, like 2 times 2 times 2 could also be written as 2 to the third power. I want to take a quick second and point out the different parts. The 3 in this case is our exponent, or sometimes called a power. And our 2 is our base. Think about it kind of like cheerleading. Like right here, we have our bases holding up our cheerleaders. Or in our case, we'll have our bases holding up our exponents. Do you think he's going to drop her? So why do we use exponents? We use them so that we can clean up our expressions and equations. For instance, if I said x times 7 times y, well, I could say that these two x's together make x squared. Now I can't combine anything else. However, I can also write it a little bit cleaner. I could say 7x squared y or 7yx squared. Either one's acceptable. However, I do want you to note that the 7 always comes first. I'll tell you a way to remember this. If this was a picture of Haley's dogs, would I say that she has 2 dogs or dogs 2? We all know you would say 2 dogs. It would sound silly to say dogs 2. Aren't they cute? I do want to make an important point here. If you were to see something like this, this does not mean that 2 and x are holding up that 3. They are not both the base for that exponent 3. It only means that x is the base and 3 is the exponent. So we have x cubed. So this would look like 2 times x to the third power. The only way that 2 and x would be the base is if it were in parentheses and looked like that. This means that what's inside the parentheses, which in this case is 2x, is the base for that exponent. Let's do a little bit of practice to make sure we understand. So we're going to evaluate, and we're going to say that r equals 3. The expression is 5r squared. Okay, first thing I need to do is substitute. So I have 5 times 3 squared. Now I want you to think back about the order of operations. Does that mean that we do 5 times 3 and then square it? Or do we do 3 squared and take that and say times 5? If you recall, I said here are our order of operations. First thing is grouping symbols. There are none. Exponents is next. So that means we do 3 squared. We know that we can rewrite this as 5 times 3 squared, which is like saying 5 times 9, because 3 squared is 9. We can then do 5 times 9 and get 45. So 5r squared, with r being equal to 3, is equivalent to 45. Now I'm going to write a very similar looking expression with one slight change. Since this is inside the parentheses, we would do 5 times, and we substitute 3 for r. First, 5 times 3 is 15. That is now our base for our exponent. Then we would do 15 squared, which is like saying 15 times 15, which equals 225. This is why it's very important that we follow the order of operations, because we got 2 completely different answers from that. So what I want to do real quick here is for you to take a moment, pause the screen, and try to write the algebraic expression that describes this set of calculations. So go ahead and do that now. Let's see if yours looks something like mine. So first you need to take some number. Now when it says that, and we don't know what the number is, it does not mean an actual number, it means a variable. So I'm going to start with x. Okay, so now I have some number, and it says to take some number and square it. Well, that's like saying x squared. Okay, so my next step says add 2 times the starting number. So I'm going to add, now how do I say 2 times my starting number? If my starting number was x, 2 times that is 2x. Now it says divide that result by your starting number. So to divide, I can write that all as a fraction. I'm going to say divide that by my starting number. My starting number was x, because remember my starting number was x and I squared it. Finally, I'm going to subtract my starting number. So that would look like this. Now let me show how you could have done this slightly different. I'm still going to use x and I'm going to follow these steps. So I'm going to take some number and square it. So I've still got x squared. I'm still going to add 2 times that starting number, which is 2x. Now the difference is right here where it says divide by my starting number. If I wrote just that, there's a problem here. Remember our order of operations. That's like saying 2x divided by x comes before we add 2x plus x squared. But if you look at our steps, it says step 1, take some number and square it. Then add 2 times that number right here. What you just wrote, if you did this way, is you wrote divide, which is step 3, first. So how can I make that right? I can add parentheses. Now, this says do everything here first, which is step 1 and step 2. Now finally, I need to subtract my starting number, which would be this. In case you're sitting there going, why are there no parentheses around all of it then? That's because order of operations says do everything in the parentheses, and then our exponents, then our multiplication and division, finally addition and subtraction. So that means we'd have to do all of this, then that step, and finally this step. So it's okay without the parentheses.